to say good morning, hello, and shout out to each other that's in the room and that is in the house, so to speak. So good morning, everybody, and thank you again for being a part of Success Life Live. We do this each and every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, and so it's my privilege and honor to get to be here. So yesterday was a day of massive writing, massive writing. I was just in a, good morning, Tiffany. Good morning, Gail. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Elizabeth. I was in a massive writing mode yesterday. Give me just a minute. Y'all talk to each other. Elizabeth, say good morning to Gail. Gail, say good morning to Elizabeth. I got to fix something over here. I felt like I was in the dark, but maybe I'll just let it go. There we go. So glad to see everybody saying good morning. Good morning, Tiffany. Say good morning to each other. So yesterday I was in a massive writing mode. Sometimes for me, if you understand DISC or DISC personalities, if you don't, it's a really cool way of understanding your behavior style and those of team members. I'm an I. I'm an I, I'm an I, and I'm an I. And then I'm a D. So I'm going and I'm creating, and I'm going and I'm creating. But for me, completion, the CS part of me, the C part of me is really sometimes I have to like pull it in. I have to wrangle it up. I have to twist it down into being, so to be. And so when I need to do that, and I know it's one of my weaknesses is calling forth my C-ness, so to speak, is I have to set the stage, set the environment, set the pace. And I put on certain music. I shut down certain distractions. I set a timer so that I know that if I focus for so many minutes, I get a reward. I know, sort of like a dog or a kid. But my C-ness is not my natural place. So I have to go into that place more intentionally. And when I do, I can really write out and I stay in that place for as long as I can. And so yesterday, long and short of the story that's already gone way too long. Good morning, Dr. Tanya Lowe, riot starter and results-driven leader extraordinaire. The long and the short of the story is that there are quite a few really good coaching newsletter tips as part of Success Life Weekly that are coming up. Really poured into them. They may in some ways be a bit long, but it only comes out once a week, and they're designed around coaching tips. They're designed around mindset tips. They're designed around shifting. And so if you're not part of the weekly newsletter email list, you got to get on it, ericgreid.com/subscribe. Going over objection handling or rejection, going over how to talk to Generation Z, what Generation Z looks like different than the millennials and before, and why is that important as leaders and how we connect and influence as parents to that generation. Mindset, unconditional, it was a lot of, but anyhow, you'll have to just sign up for the weekly newsletter to get it all, because that's the only place it comes out. And so again, ericgreid.com/subscribe. And if you want to see who's coming up on the upcoming Fun Friend Friday lists and the topics, and I got to tell you, I wish we could have just a week of Fridays. Maybe we will one week. Go to ericgreid.com/Success Life Live. There we go. So all of those are out there, did it, and we're building a resource page because some of the articles that I wrote for the Success Life Weekly, such as learning how to give an elevator speech, turned into 2 lessons, and so one is going to be on the resource page. But all of that for later. So today's topic, talking about your history and your story versus the future. Good morning to me. Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, so many of you. Good to have you in the house. Good morning again, Elizabeth. Thank you for being such a phenomenal note taker and share. Oh, and one last thing. If you did not see the Gritty Women podcast, or I guess actually listen to it, make sure you go and do that for Lynn Brown. She nailed it. She so knocked it out of the park. I typically listen to podcasts and do 2 things at once. I had to actually stop and listen to it. She had the voice, she had the story, she just pulled it in beautifully. So again, Lynn Brown, Gritty Women podcast, go find her. She was a Fun Friend Friday a few weeks ago. And good morning, Dr. Reed. So talking about our past and talking about our future. So often we get caught up in talking about our past over and 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 over again. that we don't leave space for the future. And I sort of had given the example that if I was telling you about my new iPhone or a new iPhone app, every time I went to tell you something new about the app that I downloaded or the new trick that I learned, if I took you all the way back to telling you the story about the yellow marigold phone that hung in the kitchen when I was a kid, that had one of those 6-foot cords that we would walk around the house with, and every 3 or 4 months we'd have to replace it because it would get so stretched out it would just dangle limply against the wall and pool on the floor. And at one point that phone stopped working, and it was the only phone us kids were allowed to use, and how we would go up into our parents' bedroom and try and use the slimline phone when they weren't home, and then my mom finally started learning to take the phone and lock it up so that we had to be confined to the kitchen. If I went through that whole story, every time I went to tell you about what I was doing and creating and developing in a new technology or in a new app or in a new way of thinking, pretty soon you wouldn't know if your focus should be on the old story or on the new story that I'm creating, the new thing that I'm building, the vision that I'm setting. Often as leaders, as parents, as influencers, we feel we have to tell the backstory. And we do. We have to tell the backstory. We have to tell the epiphany. And then we have to tell about the external and internal transformation. That's how you create a storyline. But there's kind of that 80-20 rule or the 20-80 rule. It depends on who you are and where you're at. When you first begin, when you first start to move away from your current, the status quo, yeah, maybe 80% of the story is where you're at and where you've been, and 20% of the story is where you're going. But at some point, you have got to shift that and make the history 20% and the future and the vision and the plan and the goals the 80%. You've got to be willing to say, you know what, I'm letting go of the story, the history, the past, and the energy that I've attached to it and the focus that I've given it. And I'm beginning to shift my focus and my energy and my creativity towards where I want to go. And I want to pull my team. I want to pull my family. I want to pull my partner. I want to pull my spouse in that direction. And in order for me to bring others and influence them, I've got to focus more energy on where I'm going than where I've been. But yet somehow we became these wound warriors, these pride past protectors, that we spend all the time telling about how we overcame the circumstances and the situation and that where we were and blah, 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 that all our energy goes back in time. And if you know me and you hang out with me or you're one of my clients, I talk about we only have this energy that we control each and every day. We look at our energy, we know our energy, we see our energy. We don't receive energy, we are the generators of the energy. And then we sort of sit and decide which power lines we're going to send it down to and how we're going to send it and why we're going to send it. And so when you're sitting down and you're planning your day and planning your vision and planning your story and planning who you're going to become, are you spending 80% of your energy, sending 80% of your time downline to your history, protecting that story, protecting those wounds, making that the identity of who you are? Or are you sending 80% of that energy into the future self of who you want to become? Thank you, Tiffany. When I look at so many people and their stuckedness, I know, is that a new word? I'm calling it a new word, y'all. Stuckedness. When I look at people in their stuckedness, it's because they have exhausted themselves protecting the past, protecting the story, protecting the history, protecting the wound, that every time it starts to heal and they're able to move forward, they go and scratch it like a 3-year-old and cause it to bleed and have to go back and start over again. They don't have enough energy, enough momentum, enough drive to get over the speed bump and into the future. And so, okay, your story has importance. Your story has relevance. Your story sets the stage, but don't let it take up the whole stage of who you are. At some point, you, the teller of the story, and the creator of the next story have got to begin to make the shift. You know, I'm sure a few of you watched Game of Thrones. It had been waiting 2 years, it's back. And I love the comments the day after. Everybody was like, yeah, it was okay. They were like all flatline. and not to be like a story buster, but they spent the entire show telling the backstory so everybody could catch up. Now, if there was a whole season of nothing but backstory, it wouldn't be pulling in the numbers that it was pulling in. And it was cute because even the audience and the fans and the fanatics were saying, yeah, but they had to set the stage. They had to get us back all out caught up. We've been apart for 2 years, but now we're going in a new direction. Do the same with your story. Begin to understand that it's time to finish the backstory, to finish the setup, to finish the prelude or the prelogue, and begin to write the new story and speak the new story. And speak the new story more and more and more and more, because someone will stop you and say, you know, I see where you're going. I know what you're doing. Man, what you're creating is phenomenal. I love your vision. Tell me how you got there. Tell me what brought you to this point. Tell me, and then you can shift and go back to the story and explain the journey. But if you're not setting the directions, what is it? Leaders see further and further than others. If you're not setting the direction, if you're not setting the tone, if you're not creating the language for where you want to go, the universe can't meet you there. Your future self isn't waiting there because you haven't declared who it is. Your team, your family, your spouse, the resources you need to arrive at that point haven't really been ordered up by you because you haven't spoken about them. All right? So, like I said, sometimes we got to just say, that was who I was, but let me tell you who I'm going to be. Let me tell you the direction I'm going to go. All right? So that's kind of what I got for you today. A little bit of Success Live, a little bit of future setting, a little bit of planning. I do a lot of visualization in the morning around who I'm becoming, where I'm going, what it looks like, that kind of thing. Something I do with my clients often is do that meditation, do that visualization, do that practice. I'd share it here, but I'm not sure how to, because I would be with me with my eyes closed thinking in my head. But maybe someday we'll touch on it. Maybe it'll be part of an upcoming Success Life Live weekly. Actually, there is one in there. I forgot. I did do a meditation or a visualization exercise in one of the upcoming Success Life Lives weekly. So with that, I'm going to give you a quick one. I'm going to give you a freebie, a Thursday freebie. There's Lynn Brown, podcaster extraordinaire. I see her pop in the house. Everybody, let's give a thumbs up, shout out. Way to go, Miss Lynn Brown, for meeting the deadline of the 17th and for amazing. Lynn, I got to tell you, whew, she kind of scared me. She raised the bar on podcasting. That's all I'm going to say. Raise the bar. Raise the bar. Instead of so high, I'm going to have to wear platforms to catch up. So here's a visualization I want you to do. If you're driving, put it off, save it for later. I'll just set the groundwork. So I want you to close your eyes and sort of take a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Don't really over-regulate them, just let them happen, but be conscious of your breathing as you do it. And then I want you to think of a moment, a place, an event that you felt great joy, like overwhelming, like tear joy. Maybe it was the birth of a kid, a wedding, a graduation, a diagnosis report, something that just, like you just were like, this is like the smile on your kid's face. What, like you can see the event and you can feel the joy. And then what I want you to do is separate the event and just feel the joy. Let that joy exist without being connected to an event, to a person, to a thing, to a place. Just feel that joy. And breathe in and breathe out and focus in on that joy. And then place that joy into future. Not attached to another event or a person or an outcome, but just say, I will experience joy always. And then let it go. You can do it for a minute. You can do it for 5 minutes. You can do it for 30 minutes. So often we get focused on that our joy, our happiness, the sense of love, the sense of completion has to be attached to an event, attached to a person, a place, a thing. When in reality, all of those feelings, all of those moments, all of those experiences exist inside of us. All of those feelings were given to us at birth. Look at an infant. They'll experience joy just experiencing it. We over time have started to feel as if we had to have a cause in order to have the effect of joy, love, happiness, peace, security. When in fact, we have created the emotion first and then found a place to put it. So through this exercise, we call back that place and that emotion and we separate them so that, that's your past, right? Yes. We let that, so when we call back that experience and that feeling and then disconnect the experience and just feel it, then we vibrate with that feeling of joy in this case. And because the universe requires that we match up feeling for feeling, like for like, apple for apple, because we are experiencing joy detached from an event, then the universe says, you are joy, I am joy, we share joy, as opposed to share an event. And that's kind of part of the past and the future self and detaching from ourself and our story and projecting into the future and all kinds of stuff around that. See, and you thought I was just a pretty face, huh? Not hardly, not hardly. But anyhow, it's a great mindfulness exercise. And like I said, take time today, if not right after this podcast, at some point in your day. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute sit in a special chair, have music playing kind of meditation. It can be as long or as short as you need it to be. Good morning, Liz. So, because you are joy. You are love, you are peace, you are abundance. Those are in you. Those exist in you completely and fully manifested. Our job in living a life of success is to bring them forth each and every day at a higher level and a higher place. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I love to do what I get to do. So that's what I got. And what is tomorrow? What hashtag one word, hashtag one name? Jake is in the house. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great having Jake. I'm kind of nervous. But anyhow, we'll pull it off. Good morning, Matthew. You didn't go long. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. So until tomorrow morning, go out and live your life. Yeah, you got it, Mal. By the way, there is the little postagram, I think we decided to call it Facebook graffiti, right below this one. Do me a favor, pick it up and share it out. Invite people to be part of tomorrow morning's Fun Friend Friday with Jake. He's our Generation Z liaison, ambassador, decoder, and you'll want to be in the house for that. So tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Fun Friend Friday with Jake. It's also Good Friday, so a lot of people have the day off, so you can hang out a little bit longer. Till then, go out, live your life with success. It is yours. You are fully worthy. Live into it. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to like, share, comment. And if you're sitting on the sideline or doing the replay thing, you got to tell me so I know, so I can say hello as well. All right, good morning, Tina. Good morning, everybody. I'll have to jump back through and do some mornings after this. Till then, bye-bye.